aside from just stacking all of the stat corruptions, because there could be other corruptions that synergize with other specs, but right now the Ineffable Truth, most importantly rank 1 if you're interested in buying it for your paladin on the live servers. Don't buy rank 2 Ineffable Truth, buy rank 1. Save your Echoes of Nyalotha. I just saved you a lot of grinding. Make sure you buy rank 1, not rank 2, but right now that's the only class we see really steering off the beaten path.
That's actually the only corruption that goes that way as well, right? It's more fairly budgeting or taxing your corruption budget. If you're rank 1, it's better to have multiple rank 1s than to go for those rank 2s, to go for those rank 3s, unless you're out of space and you're an absolute god and you have corruption on every single piece of gear. But yeah, get a bunch of Ineffable Truths, become a tally sub, hammers up, bros. But the gates are now open. It's going to be Golden Guardians versus Kawhi. This is an elimination series. Let's see who pulls ahead on the blind pick.
Yeah, so good prediction by me. I'm going to pat myself on the back for Kawhi's blind pick in this matchup. I think this composition is going to be really, really durable, and I think Golden Guardians might actually struggle to find pressure, but hopefully they can prove me wrong. We'll have to see what they decide to do. It's likely Peekaboo and WizK are going to be looking for multiple pressure points in this game. Cerulean securing a full Ring of Frost against Mind Control, Mass Dispelled immediately. Peekaboo taking a little bit of burst damage, but I think Cerulean and Drake, they're both going to be stacking versatility. You can see Cerulean's actually a Dark Iron Dwarf as well, so that's going to be a great ratio to survive. Already getting the Touch of Karma from Drake, the Blind Sap onto Brian. And Drake is really low. Might actually go down. The Lingering Psychic Shell finally Brain in line of sight to actually get those heals and keep Drake alive, but that was a good offensive push there by the Golden Guardians.
I was not expecting the Golden Guardians to get this much out of Drake early on. All 3 members of Kawhi are running versatility, not even running the Ineffable Truth Paladin, really wanting to stack up that damage healing and damage reduction stat across the board. And right now the Golden Guardians have great momentum. Every time they crowd control Brain, they get something from Drake, and that's great for their momentum. Right now Cerulean shutting down WizK, polymorphing him on the Void form, removing a lot of burst damage, well-timed polymorph. We see the Golden Guardians pulling back for a moment as they set up once again. Kidney shot on Drake, but WizK can't follow up with any crowd control on Brain. Brain is line of sighting it at the pillar, and now the kidney shot is over, so it's unlikely that we see WizK go for any crowd control. We're waiting for that next kidney shot from Peekaboo. The entire composition of the Golden Guardian is going to be revolving around Peekaboo. He's the playmaker, he's the setup, and then WizK is the damage to knock him down. Silence over onto Brain, but no stun onto Drake just yet. Catching the stun just a second too late, but regardless, it's another cooldown out of the way. The sacrifice from Brain has been drained.
Yep, Drake has been taking so much damage, but big burst on Peekaboo. Full polymorph on Absturge. That's going to be the Void Shift, the life swap from WizK to Peekaboo to keep him alive. Great offensive push here by Kawhi. Peekaboo now into the grapple weapon, but a fear over onto Brain. Cerulean and Drake rotting down just a little bit. Good counter aggression here by the Golden Guardians to stay in this fight. Kidney shot on Cerulean, but still with every defensive cooldown, he should be completely fine. If we look at mana right now, at just 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the game, both these healers are relatively even. WizK immediately using the Mass Dispel onto Absurge. Nicely done to back him up. That Shadow Priest utility. You can see a Mind Control right now onto Drake as well. WizK single-handedly shutting down that go by Kawhi.
Oh, full stun on Drake. Smoke bomb has been dropped. Can they burst him down in the stun lock before he's able to activate the Touch of Karma? They're pushing for it, but they might control him at low health. They're rotting down with the Psy Fiend, but it might not be enough. They bop him at such critically low health with that Lingering Psychic Shell. Another clutch setup here from the Golden Guardians. They've had Kawhi on the ropes. Only one real opportunity to kill Peekaboo early on. They're looking for another here on this push, and they do manage to finally net the Cloak of Shadows from Peekaboo. Kawhi fighting back in game number 1, lower bracket elimination round. The loser of this series will be out of the tournament. Another stun lock onto Drake. This is more so to buy time from Peekaboo. Peekaboo poking away at the Paladin a little bit here. Curious to see if they're going to set up a swap to him in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to look for it. He could become a vulnerability. At this point in Dampening, I think it's unlikely, especially with the PL Cerulean and Drake have, but if we could see WizK get a double fear and a kidney shot onto Brain, they could definitely take him down. Hammer of Justice onto Peekaboo. Oh, beautiful Mass Dispel again. He gets the Dragon's Breath. He gets the Hammer of Justice on Peekaboo. WizK really doing a great job in terms of his Shadow Priest utility. And now you can see the damage starting to really ramp up here for the Golden Guardians. Brain taking a big hit of damage to Cerulean. Drake as well. Brain could honestly just have to use his Divine Shield here. Peekaboo's all over him, but he does manage to escape. Good backup there by Cerulean.
Brain got instantly dispelled on his Divine Favor, instantly dispelled on a Hand of Freedom, and had to use the second Hand of Freedom on himself. There's going to be limited mobility right now for Kawhi. That swap to Brain netted quite a bit and scared him. And now that they've seen the potential of that swap, the Golden Guardians could be looking to drop any target on the other side of the board at any time. They're waiting in the wings, turtling up on the pillar for now, waiting for the next attack. Where are they going to engage? Peekaboo Shadow steps over to the Mage Ceruleum. He saves the kidney shot, cheap shotting instead. Who is he going to go with the kidney shot? Drake pulls away. We see Kawhi retreating now back to their side of the pillar. Mana is even between both sides, moving into dampening. 5 more seconds, and healing will start to be reduced. And in dampening, who do you think is favored, Ven?
Well, I mean, it seems like Golden Guardians in general just have a lot more pressure in this match. When you look at Brain, outside of his Avenging Wrath, everyone on his team is just dead. Ceruleum now getting low Temporal Shield. He's running and hiding behind the pillar. Now they're swapping over onto Drake. The damage is absolutely insane from Golden Guardians. It's really adding up here. 2% dampening, full blind onto Brain. This could easily be cauterized or an Ice Block from Ceruleum. Golden Guardians is looking to make an offensive push, and they are not slowing down. Full all in. Brain now into a cheap shot. He's used his ultimate sacrifice. Now they're going after Drake. There's just so much pressure from the Shadow Priest rogue at the moment, and Golden Guardians are really turning up the heat.
I feel like there's only about 10 seconds of this game where Kawhi, where I would say we're in a winning position. It's when they get that Hammer of Justice on Peekaboo and they've got a Polymorph on the Shaman. They've only been able to do that twice. They need to do it way more frequently than they are. And they need to make sure that they shut down WizK because he can disrupt it with that Mass Dispel. They interrupt WizK on Vampiric Touch. They're slowing down some of the pressure. They snipe out the Cap Totem with that Fire Blast. Good positioning. Triple leg sweep. Beautiful setup. Hammer of Justice on the Trinket. Everyone is locked down. Oh my goodness! That was insane damage onto Peekaboo out of nowhere. Kawhi, man, they don't hit often, but when they hit hard.
Well, that's one of the problems for Peekaboo. I mean, he's playing a lot of Gushing Wounds, and you can see that damage is really strong. But if you get caught in a stun and you don't have that versatility, you can go down really quickly. Ceruleum, though, with the Temporal Shield, will barely keep him alive. He hold on to his Cauterize, but still just greeting it. Double Fear coming in from WizK, beautifully done. Nice crowd control. Is there any more for Brain? Doesn't look like it. He should be able to get the heals on Ceruleum and keep him alive, but just close call after close call here for Kawhi. I have to see. They're going to have to find some counter pressure onto Peekaboo. He's got no trinket. The next leg sweep could be absolutely devastating. This could just be it. The full Hammer of Justice. Cross crowd control. Nicely done by Ceruleum. Peekaboo barely holding on. He's got nothing. He's running. He's hiding for his life. Absturge in a position, though, to finally land some heals. Great job by WizK to keep him alive and actually get counter pressure on Ceruleum, forcing out the Ice Block. Despite the fact that Peekaboo was so low, running away for his life, WizK manages to get the Ice Block from Ceruleum. Really nicely done there by the Golden Guardians.
Oh, Psyfiend is up. They need to kill that Psyfiend out in the corner. Drake sends Zwin over to do it. Now Ceruleum is dipping low. Sacrifice on the Hex. Ceruleum still needs to dispel that immediately. Vendetta is rolling. Big pressure from Peekaboo. They grapple weapon Peekaboo, taking away his daggers, preventing damage during that critically high amount of burst damage from him. Combustion is coming up. Touch of Death is coming up. And I really feel like Kawhi need to win the game with those cooldowns. Otherwise, they're just going to burn out. They stun Peekaboo. They're pushing for it. Peekaboo needs to be ready to respond. Mind control on the Polymorph. WizK perfectly times it. We've seen some pretty insane mind controls throughout. Grounding Totem on the Polymorph. Interrupt on the Ring of Frost. Mind control on the Polymorph again. Ceruleum absolutely getting destroyed. But inevitably, the Polymorph has been secured. They go for the Vitality Conduit, trying to stabilize. Evasion from Peekaboo. He should be able to stay alive throughout this assault. Triple Psychic Scream from WizK as they push for the kill. Purge spam potentially from Absturge here, taking off any blessings of protections. Desperately trying to push Ceruleum over the edge. No Avenging Wrath for 15 more seconds. Brain has to heal through 21% healing reduction. He's holding on to dear life. Peekaboo is just trying to get back to Ceruleum, but he's intercepted by Drake. Mind control again on the Ring of Frost. WizK's perfectly timing these mind controls, but Drake is soloing Peekaboo. Who's gonna fall? Peekaboo at 10%. Shadow stepping away from Drake, stunning up Ceruleum. Absturge recovers him with the Vitality Conduit. Stun now onto Ceruleum. Silence onto Brain's Avenging Wrath. WizK needs to get in position for a Psychic Scream. He's waddling over, but Drake intercepts him with a Fist of Fury, Turbo Fist Snare. Brain and Ceruleum cowering around the corner as the Golden Guardians push forward.
Yeah, Golden Guardian's pushing forward, but Peekaboo has to be careful. There's been multiple times in this match where he's gotten so low. We'll have to see. There's a full polymorph on Upsurge. Interrupt on WizK. Nicely done. Peekaboo's in a stun. He's got the Trinket. He's got the Cloak of Shadows. He's going to have to use them. He trades out everything to stay alive. Void Shift as well. A huge overlap here by the Golden Guardians. And now WizK is the one that ultimately falls. There's no dispersion available. He might have actually just died through dispersion there. Too little, too late by the Golden Guardians. It looks so good for them, but one nice big setup there by Kawhi, able to force out everything. Big overlap from the Golden Guardians, just honestly greeting it just a little bit too hard. What a back and forth exciting game, though.
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi and Drake just under pressure back to back, but they managed to hold on. And now let's actually talk about all of the setups that they actually had to take down this squad, a powerhouse squad that they are playing against, Zico.
Wow, this was such a nice game. It was back and forth, constant aggression. When a game goes on to, the 20-30% dampening, it's usually because two teams are playing super defensive. That was not the case here at all. The Golden Guardians, basically from start to finish, full out aggression. And Kawhi, they responded well. They had good defense. They, disrupted a lot of the setups. And they were able to, find a couple of big hits as well themselves. But I feel like this was more of an error on the side of the Golden Guardians with that live swap. Unfortunately, WizK as well has been playing such a great game up until that point. Hopefully they can just shake it off because they were in the driver's seat the entire game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, even just like watching the chat alongside the game and just seeing everybody go like WizK God, it's just like, yeah, always. One of the best players in the entire world at what he does and just period. But the question is, what do we think the shape of this series is going to be, Zico? Is this one where we expect compositions to change, or do we expect a slugfest like that to just happen the entire way through?
I think Golden Guardians won't swap. If somebody swaps, it's probably Kawhi. They have a lot of flexibility on that roster, so I could see maybe a Rogue tagged in instead of the Windwalker if they get smashed the next two games or something like that. So. But I think for the next game, we're probably just going to see more of the same, maybe a little bit smaller map. Actually, maybe they want to go for a bigger map.
Is there?
I'm not muted, right?
I have no idea, but I will say everything that you did say that I could hear was really, 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 really intelligent. I think chat might be debating you now. I think you need to double check everything yourself. I think pretty much every time you talk, they're going to try to hit you with that debate. They're quite masterful at doing that. They are very, very masterful at coming in with those baits. But the thing is that I do want to ask you, Zico, are there any particular moments that we want to jump in on right now and actually put under the microscope?
Yeah, so, I mean, I just wanted to highlight again, it's so fun to see WizK back on the Shadow Priest. He had a monster performance up until that last second. You can see this is like, Shadow Priest, they don't have interrupts, they don't have a kick. But this guy is stopping Dragon's Breath, Sheep attempts with his mind control. He's mind controlling people on low HP, almost securing kills because of it as well, a little bit earlier in the match. Unfortunately for him, that last Void Shift was a little bit of a misplay on his part, and it basically immediately sealed their fate. But I think, just shake that off. He played a consistent game throughout, and if he keeps that level, I think it's very, uncharacteristic that we see an arrow like that.
Now, then, I want to ask you, because I know that you're not muted, Ashmane's Fall. How's this map actually going to affect this particular matchup?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if the map really matters that much. Ashmane's Fall, kind of similar to the Grand Arena, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more open space, but I think if this is the map pick for the Golden Guardians, it's likely because Upsurge wants to maneuver around the pillars, right? Like, he's going to have to use these pillars to avoid a lot of the incoming crowd control. They can also be difficult sometimes as the Paladin to run away. Like, honestly, I don't think this particular map is going to matter too much in this matchup. I think it's just a nice balanced map that both teams are going to be able to utilize quite well. And if anything, I feel like this map might even be better for Hawaii. Like, you'd think what Golden Guardians wants is a small map for WizK to push in and get fears whenever he wants. So it is a bit surprising to see the bigger map, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think it's going to matter too much.
Actually, I feel like, especially last season, this was something that they did a lot. They kind of just played the game back, they played behind a pillar on a large map, and then whenever someone went in, they would go after them. I'm trying to remember. You remember against C9 that one game? I think they beat C9 in a series, and the last game they killed Cubsy completely out of position on Asher mains as well, and that was the same strategy. This is something they have done in the past, but I don't know if it's like the current play in today's meta.
Yeah.
I think this is a comfort thing though that we've seen a few times.
We'll definitely have to see. I think like that last matchup was just so back and forth. Really, I mean, we saw a lot of good plays from WizK. We saw a lot of good counter aggression from both teams. I mean, when they're on the back foot and someone's low, the best thing that they can do is just try to turn around the pressure, create your own go, get the crowd control, get the burst damage out, force them on the back foot, because that's why these teams are such high level players. A lot of the time you can get tricked into like, okay, we need to recover, like play defensive, we need to recover, get crowd control, just try to survive. But what you actually need to do a lot of the time is, okay, that was their go, we're alive, even if we're low health, we need to do something, like we need to start putting out pressure. And that's what we're seeing both these teams do a great job of.
Do you think that we might see any of the dance of corruption happening at all? Do you think that we could see, based off of what happened in the previous game, people trying to psych out the other person by switching up things in corruption, Vemriki?
I think for Kawhi, their win condition is just survive. Like, they're just consistent damage. You know, when the Windwalker Monk has his leg sweep, they can do big burst. Windwalker Monk damage is really, really buffed by having versatility. So that's one of the great things about Windwalker Monks right now is you don't really gain that much damage from going pure Gushing Wounds compared to just stacking versatility. Mm-hmm. So it's almost never worth switching over to Gushing Wounds as a Windwalker Monk. So I just think it's unlikely that we're going to see this team go Gushing Wounds. It doesn't really make that much sense. For Golden Guardians, it feels like they kind of do need the damage. Like, if they want to have the pressure we saw in that last game, they actually need to be running Gushing Wounds. So I don't think Golden Guardians plays into their favor to switch over to versatility, so I think it's very likely we see the same setups for both teams.
Sid, is there anything in particular that you want to see change, or do you want to just see Game 1 happen again?
Probably just see Game 1 happen again. I feel like WizK has the most interesting corruptions. He's like some Gushing Wound, a little bit verse percent, a little bit expedient for haste. Like, he's just going a tiny bit into everything. But the way that the percentages scale, I don't know if that's the best way to do it. What I want to see as a Shadow Priest, although maybe he just outright can't survive, but go like the full PvE build, just full haste crit, maxed out percent haste, insane cast time Shadow Priest. It probably won't work in a comp with RPS, but it's something that I want to see from a Shadow Priest, maybe if they run some sort of wizard setup in the future. But right now his build, I would almost like to talk to him, like what was he thinking when he was, what is he trying to get done with this, because he's got just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, the thing though with WizK is, like, we all know he's kind of a five-head, right? If he's actually looking at something and trying to assess the situation, saying he's hitting like a soft cap or something like that, or he's getting a diminishing return on a stat, he would be one of the people that I would definitely have a lot of faith in to be doing that. But going for a lot of those different corruptions is pretty interesting. And I think you bring up a really good point, because sometimes you would assume that you would be hitting some of those soft break points, but with the way that it does scale, it does seem best most of the time to just slam it, just ship it, and just go all in on one of those amps. But we will see. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's sometimes really hard to quantify. Like, it's hard to say like how much value you get from, you know, a Mass Dispel going off 0.2 seconds faster that could just save your team from losing the game. Like, details can't really quantify how much value that has. So I think for some classes, you know, like Shadow Priest, like Mage, you actually do need, and Warlock, you do need a certain level of haste to actually make sure you're getting those spells off in a decent amount of time. So just all-inning onto versatility or all-inning onto Gushing Wounds, I think is a lot more difficult to balance as a caster class.
I think it's really interesting that Brain so far has been the only HPAL without any ineffable truth. He's going full out Versa. The Pallies I was talking to in Europe yesterday, said that they at least want to go for 4 pieces and get 120%, and that's supposedly some breakpoint. But we got an opener here. Let's get it, boys.
All right, stun lock onto 2 players, but no follow-up crowd control from the Golden Guardians. Brain repositioning away from WizK, but silenced. How much can they get from the kidney shot here? Holy Avenger activated from Brain. He's going to get a lot of extra haste from this. Now charging in on his Divine Steed. He walks right into a Psychic Scream from WizK. WizK breaks out of crowd control to secure that. Peekaboo moving in as if he wanted to try and sap it. Maybe he's just switched to Brain a little bit. We see Ceralium pulling back to the pillar. Peekaboo pushing forward. Is he going to keep going after Ceralium? If Drake rolls over here with a leg sweep. Actually, no leg sweep. Peekaboo has free reign to go where he pleases. Absurd's looking for a cheeky Hex. Finds that on Drake while the mage is stunned up, but now in a paralyzed Hammer of Justice. Polymer follow-up. This is the scary moment whenever Peekaboo is in a Hammer of Justice. He can just get deleted. Okay. Goodbye.
Looking, Peekaboo, he has his trinket, he has cloak, he has literally everything. I mean, we're going to have to run it back a replay. I think that might have been a fatty Dressagath or something, but that is the problem. If you play too much offense, you can absolutely just get completely smoked. And I mean, Windwalker Monks, that burst damage was absolutely crazy. Peekaboo was completely caught off guard. And yeah, I guess that's going to be 2-0 for the team of Kawhi.
I swapped over to the replay channel, like muted my mic, and we were about to start watching, and as I mute it, I just see Pika is dead. I hear Sid yelling. What was that?
Wow, yeah.
I'm pretty
it's
sure
actually
it was
your job to tell us what that was. So.
I'm watching YouTube right now. Let's see.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about YouTube too. You can like actually do like the live rewinds really easy. But yeah, I believe in Japanese, kawaii means cute, but for the boys on the Golden Guardians, they're going to need to learn how to say another word, and that is Maketa. That means I lost. I know how to say that. I'm not going to go into why I know how to say that, but that is a Japanese word that I know. Maketa means I lost, and they are going to have to say that twice because now they are facing elimination. One more game can send a team that has competed at the highest levels home to start off the tournament. Zico, let's figure out how on earth we got in this situation.
Do you know? I can tell you. I just watched it.
That was a paralyze into a DR sheep. They Hammer of Justice Pika, and they actually started bursting when there was like 3 seconds left of the Hammer of Justice. So Pika thought, I can get away. You know, they started doing damage to me very late. They don't have that much CC on my healer, but that Meteor, that combust damage from the mage, you know, the Windwalker as well. He just got completely erased.
I'm pretty sure it was the Dressagath smoked him for like 50% of his health too. He went from 60 to 5% like almost instantly.
I need to get a mythic dressed on my mage. you know these mages playing tank trinket. I need to be the opposite of that and play with dressed. That trinket is crazy.
We just got word that the replay is ready, so let's take a look at that and actually watch pretty much that entire game back. That was one of the fastest ones that we will probably see in this tournament. And when we watch, we can break down one more time, Zico, what actually did happen.
Well, the move, they got their offensive setup, you know. They got aggressive. They got a little CC on the healer. They were, you know, building up their pressure. And then they kind of ducked back towards the pillar. And as soon as they did that, they had such a great setup, you know, between the Holy Paladin and the Monk. They probably went like, go now. And at the same time, Hammer of Justice on the Rogue, Paralyze on the healer. The Rogue can't use his cloak. The Rogue can't use any of his defense. The healer can't dispel him. So then the mage blinks in, gets a DR polymorph, combust, dressed, meteor, all of that crashing in at the same time. And that's how fast it goes.
Truly crazy. Let's actually talk. So that one, Zico, probably not as repeatable as we head into Tiger's Peak. But after seeing the first game and the second game, how do you actually feel headed into this third game in the series?
I feel like the Golden Guardians are like, they're winning, but then the insane burst damage that is available on the Fire Mage and the Windwalker takes somebody down by surprise. I feel like the first game, they had it in the back pocket the entire time, but then they kind of just overlapped. Like WizK swapped, Pika used his cloak. I think WizK should have held on to it, and then he died through this person. That was just kind of a little unfortunate, you know. But then in this last game, they just kind of under-responded, and if they make a mistake like that one more time, they're out. So I think they're still in the series, but I'm not sure.
You know what Ceruleum's doing? We were talking about it then, the medallion.
Oh, is he?
Where if you run percent verse, you play the Corrupted Gliders medallion. So when you activate the medallion, you get 1200 verse. And then you times that by 1 billion when you have 12%, 12%, 12%, 12%, 12%. So I have a feeling that he did that.
Billion
His
might be a
medallion.
little off.
No, it's pretty accurate, 100% accuracy. So he's playing that, and that's probably also what contributed to his death. I also think it's interesting, he's running dampened magic honor talent on top of Brain playing Divine Vision. So he has 15% less shadow damage over time effect damage, and then Ceruleum is playing an extra 20% magic damage reduction. I don't even know how Whiskey is generating pressure.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if we see that more and more, because we've been seeing a lot of people moving into that even in PvE scenarios, right? You play something like Harlan's Dice because you have just so many amps that you're just getting insane value out of the trinket. All in all, though, we don't need to be thinking about gearing. We need to be thinking about the score line. We are going to see Kawhi leading by 2. They can close out the series right here and send the Golden Guardians out of this tournament.
Yeah, here's a thing about gushing wounds as well, is it does shadow damage, I'm pretty sure. So the dampened magic from Ceruleum is going to be affecting all the gushing wounds from Peekaboo, reducing that damage also. So definitely a nice heads-up play there when you're playing against someone with a ton of gushing. Huge opener on Peekaboo. And Peekaboo, you can tell he's a little bit more afraid this game. Immediately snap trinket, Cloak of Shadows, wants to survive that first initial push, and he does manage to hold on, but they get that trinket out quite fast. So nice opener there for Kawhi.
Yeah, and Drake still has a lot of damage, but Peekaboo pops off on Ceruleum, blinking out of the smoke bomb, but cheap shot into full blind. Big push here. Brain decides to bop off the blind. Line of sighting Abster just purges on it, so he doesn't need to deal with being kicked. Topping off Ceruleum with the Avenging Wrath in the near future, I would imagine. Still, the pressure on Ceruleum, I feel like it's quite high considering how many damage reduction effects he's currently stacked on his character. Peekaboo pulling back out of line of sight on the balcony. Maybe he's trying to bait Drake. It's 1 versus 1 between Drake and Peekaboo on the balcony. Peekaboo pre-lingering shelling when he sees his Shaman in a Dragon's Breath, and life gripped away on the leg sweep, stalling the damage out of line of sight of the mage. Beautiful positioning from WizK on that life grip, but the crowd control isn't over just yet. Hammer of Justice, Ring of Frost around the corner, snipes out on Absturge. Peekaboo is forced to evasion. Will they just kill him through evasion? Very low on health. WizK runs into the Ring of Frost, gets dispelled out, goes for a Psychic Scream, but Brain wasn't in line of sight, so that Psychic Scream is going to whiff onto the Paladin, which is going to put the Golden Guardians slightly behind.
Decent damage here for the Golden Guardians, so they're finally starting to establish some pressure. Brain gets out of the silence. Does he have the heals to actually top off his team? He's into a cheap shot. Good crowd control here by Peekaboo, using that subterfuge to get the additional stuns, the additional silences out. But it looks like Brain has enough to recover. Peekaboo, he gets Void Shift. Another surprise Drestigath by Drake. A really scary moment. That was Trinket from Absurge. That was the Void Shift. And the damage coming up from Kawhi is so bursty. Ceruleum, though, in the meantime, he rots down. That's going to be his Cauterize, but Brain able to easily recover with his Avenging Wrath. Big heals, but still both teams trading blow for blow. But Peekaboo has to be so scared. I mean, Absurge with no Trinket, WizK with no Void Shift. He's basically all on his own.
Yeah, but Golden Guardians keep themselves in the game here by getting that Cauterized. They just need to survive a bit longer. A full leg sweep on Peekaboo. Anytime I see him stunned, I almost imagine he's just going to disappear. Recovering with the Vitality Conduit, pushing onto Ceruleum. WizK in Void form, trying to burst down with some Void bolts. Ceruleum going to line of sight WizK on the balcony. I love this positioning from Ceruleum, but Absurge is actually right on top of him. He can purge him down a bit. Brain is trying to play away. He doesn't want to stack up for a Psychic Scream, but he's having difficulty healing at the moment without running any Ineffable Truth. His Avenging Wrath does not seem to be up very often. They're going to polymorph WizK and try and stall, but there's the Silence Kidney Shot, the deadly combo between WizK and Peekaboo. WizK marching towards Brain, looking for a Psychic Scream. Drake is snaring him with the hamstrings, slowing his advance. A full blind onto Brain, another bop out of the way. WizK going to dispel the bop off. Maybe they try and go on Brain while he's on Forbearance. They could potentially make the swap, but there's the Hammer of Justice. This is where we saw Peekaboo disappear in the last game. Now match point, they can't afford to throw! Trinket Cloak of Shadows on 1% remaining health. Absturge needs to get there to save him. Vitality Conduit, close call, tournament lives on the line. They make it out with 1% remaining health.
That's the setups we need to see. I mean, it was just clean, right? Ceruleum goes, he gets the Dragon's Breath Sheep on Absturge. At the same time, Drake uses the Paralyze on WizK to deny any help from WizK with Massive Spells or Mind Controls. and then a Hammer of Justice on Peekaboo. They do that consistently. That's the game-winning setup for Kawhi. So really nicely done. We want to see that over and over, and because of that, they were able to get a lot of cooldowns. The burst on Peekaboo is absolutely insane. Ceruleum, he's playing the Fire Starter build. A lot of mages are opting to play that, so every time they do have that combo, as long as Ceruleum is able to get off enough fireballs, he should have his combustion for his meteor, and that's what makes these setups just so deadly.
All right, mind control of Ceruleum. He's getting pulled very far away from the fight at low health, trying to stall during Avenging Wrath. Divine Favor, though, immediately stabilizes him. WizK looking for more mind controls, gets Counterspell out of the way, but now there's the triple stun lock. Who's going to respond? WizK gripping Peekaboo away, but Drake had his Transcendence down on the opposite end. Transcendence right back onto Peekaboo. Beautiful reconnect there from Drake, but Peekaboo's holding on. 2 seconds left on the Polymorph. Vampiric Embrace active from WizK. His damage going to be supporting the team. Well timed during that assault. And Golden Guardians stay alive in the tournament. They're slightly behind on mana at this point, but Golden Guardians are a team that feel like they're always playing from behind, and they pull off a miracle. I feel like that's why so many people love to watch them. The underdogs, can they pull it off here on match point, or will they be the second team eliminated in the tournament? Silence on Brain, they're pushing, they stun the Divine Favor. They need to dispel it off. They do dispel it off. Sacrifice from Brain is forced, but there's the Dragon's Breath, there's the Hammer of Justice. Everybody is locked down, and somebody needs to do something quick. Absterge will. He breaks out of the Polymorph with his Gladiator's Medallion, pops his Ascendance, and says, no way. Stabilizing Peekaboo for now, but these big pushes are 100% the Medallion. Every 2 minutes, Ceruleum is going to do unhealable damage. And I'm actually wondering if more and more players are going to start picking up this trinket.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a possibility. I mean, Peekaboo, he's just gearing so offensively. He's got no defense whatsoever. But starting to generate a little pressure on Ceruleum, but with the Temporal Shield, he should be fine. I mean, Golden Guardians have really struggled to find pressure, and as the series goes on, it just feels like it's getting better and better for Kawhi. But as I say that, WizK pushes in. He has something else to say. Still no Cauterize over Ceruleum. He has to be very careful. No longer has that cheat death effect, so he can get bursted down quite quickly. He'll need to use that Ice Block if he needs to. Mind Control now coming in from WizK, delaying the go just a little bit. Ceruleum gets topped off in this Kidney Shot. Get Kidney Shot, and with no crowd control on Brain, his health actually went up, so very unfortunate. Ceruleum looking for a Dragon's Breath Sheep, manages to find it, but a beautiful Mass Dispel from WizK. I think he actually managed to get the Hammer of Justice off of Peekaboo. Peekaboo trying to run, though, and he gets absolutely obliterated once again. I mean, Drake and Ceruleum just have such big one-shot potential. If Peekaboo isn't ready for both of them, he just gets removed from